Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a skill that is, honestly, a superpower for anyone who works with data: storytelling. We're going to talk about how to take all those numbers, all that complexity, and turn it from just confusing noise into a clear signal that actually makes people listen and act.
All right, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in this exact spot? You have spent weeks, maybe months, digging through data. You find this amazing, critical insight, you put it up on a slide, and you get nothing. Just a room full of blank stares. Why does that happen? Why do really important facts so often just fall flat?
Well, the answer is pretty fascinating, and it's actually all about our brain chemistry. See, when we look at raw data, numbers on a spreadsheet, our brain has to work incredibly hard just to figure out what it all means. It's activating our language centers, it's cognitively expensive, and totally emotionally detached. But a story? That's a whole different ballgame. A good story literally lights up the sensory and motor parts of our brain. It makes us feel like we're living the experience, and that creates an emotional connection and empathy that raw numbers just can't touch.
There's actually a name for this whole thing, for our inability to connect with big numbers. It's called psychic numbing. Research has shown again and again that it is way easier for us to feel for one single person's story than for a statistic about millions of people. Kind of weird, right? The bigger the number gets, the less we actually feel. It's why a spreadsheet showing a market downturn doesn't hit nearly as hard as the story of one single customer's struggle. So the takeaway here is huge. If you want data to matter, you've got to make it feel personal.
So this is the really crucial point. Stories aren't just, fluff to make a presentation look nice. They are a functional requirement for how our brains are wired to absorb information. In a very real way, stories are a hack for the human brain, and the science behind it is just incredible.
When you tell a really compelling story, this amazing thing happens called neural coupling. What that means is the listener's brain activity literally starts to mirror your own. Think about that for a second. It's like you're syncing your brains up, allowing them to feel the emotion and understand the context behind the data on this deep personal level. It's like a direct brain-to-brain transfer of an experience.
And this direct connection, this brain syncing, has a massive effect on what we actually remember long after we've left the room. Because let's be real, we are swimming in facts and data all day long, and most of it just goes in one ear and out the other. So just how big of an effect does the story have? Well, research out of Stanford found that a fact is a staggering 22 times more likely to be remembered if it's part of a story. 22 times! That's not a small difference. That's a complete game changer. It's the difference between an insight that gets totally ignored and one that actually starts a revolution in your company. Okay, so let's get practical. Let's talk about how you can actually do this. It all builds into a really simple but incredibly powerful framework. Instead of just dumping a list of facts, you can structure any data insight you have into a clear, four-part story that absolutely anyone can follow.
So here it is, 4 steps. First, you set the context. What's business as usual? For the last year, our retention has been super stable at 85%. Simple. Second, you introduce the conflict. What happened? But last quarter, it suddenly dropped to 78%. Now you have their attention. Third, you deliver the insight. What's the why? Our data shows this drop happened right after we pushed that new UI update. And finally, you offer a resolution. What are we going to do about it? We think that reinstating that one key feature could get us back 4%. You see, this isn't just a report anymore. It's a story that leads directly to a plan. This is your blueprint. Now, for this whole framework to really land, you need to make one more really critical mindset shift. It's all about understanding who the main character of your data story is. And let me give you a hint. It's not you.
The mistake we all make is on the left. We try to be the hero. We focus on our hard work. I analyzed 50 million rows of data to find this. But the real hero of your story is your audience. Your role, as you can see on the right, is to be the guide. You're Yoda. You're Gandalf. You're the one with the map who helps the hero win. So you just shift your language from talking about your effort to talking about their success. To help the marketing team hit their Q4 targets, we identified. And that simple change is everything. Your value isn't in how hard you worked, it's in making your audience successful. Okay, so you've positioned your audience as the hero. You're their trusted guide. Now let's talk about the map you're giving them, your visuals. This is the last mile of your data story, and believe me, a bad chart can lead even the most motivated hero completely off a cliff. The key here is choosing your visuals with very clear intent.
Just look at this. Your choice of chart shouldn't be about what looks cool or flashy. It's about the specific job you're asking your audience's brain to do. You want to show a trend over time? A line chart is your best friend. Period. You want to compare different categories? Use a bar chart. Trying to show a relationship between two different things? That's a job for a scatter plot. Each choice is designed to make one specific kind of insight pop off the page.
And beyond just picking the right chart type, making it effective is usually about one thing: subtraction. You have to remove what the design pioneer Edward Tufte calls chart junk. All those useless grid lines, the weird 3D effects, the drop shadows. Get rid of them. Then use color like a spotlight to highlight the one thing you really want them to see. And please, please, write a title that tells them the main takeaway, not just revenue by quarter. Make your point impossible to miss.
But as you're building these beautiful, clear visuals, you have to remember that your single most valuable asset is trust. And that trust can be completely shattered in an instant with one single misleading chart.
Take a look at this. The chart on the left makes the difference between those bars look absolutely massive, right? But if you look closer, the vertical axis starts at 50, not 0. That's called a truncated axis, and it's a classic way to visually exaggerate a change. The honest chart on the right, the one that starts at 0, shows the real proportional difference. So for bar charts, the rule is simple and it is non-negotiable. The value axis must start at 0. Anything else is a breach of trust. It's that simple.
So when you boil it all down, what should you take away from all this? It's that your ultimate goal here isn't to win an argument. It's not about persuading people that you're right. It's about achieving clarity. Your job as a data storyteller is to illuminate the path forward so that your audience can see the situation so clearly that the right decision becomes the obvious one. And that is the real power of turning noise into a signal.